Hi there. What kind of stories did you hear from your parents or teachers when you were young? The stories we hear help us understand what's truly important and guide us in choosing what matters most in life. This process is called forming values. In the Bible, the first man, Adam, shared God's promise with his two sons, Cain and Abel. This promise was that God would send the Messiah, the offspring of the woman. But the two brothers reacted to this promise in completely different ways. Abel eagerly believed in the coming Messiah and held on to God's promise as the most precious thing in his life. His worship wasn't just about going through the motions. It showed that God and his promise were the highest priorities in his life. The word worship itself comes from the idea of giving worth or value, and Abel's actions reflected that. On the other hand, Cain heard the same promise but didn't care about it. Instead of focusing on God, he let his own selfish desires take over. In the end, his greed led him to make a terrible choice, committing a horrific murder. Even though both brothers heard the same story, their choices and outcomes were completely different. So, what does this tell us about the values that guide our lives? In today's world, we're surrounded by so many competing values: success, money, fame, pleasure, all of which claim to be important. But many of these things leave us feeling empty, or even harm our lives when we chase after them. That's why it's so important to figure out what truly matters most. The Bible, which contains God's promises, helps us discern what's really valuable. God's first promise was to send the Messiah, the offspring of the woman. Christmas is the day we celebrate the birth of Jesus, the Messiah that God promised to send. There's a huge difference between someone who just brushes this off and someone like Abel, who holds onto these words and treasures them. For those of you preparing for Christmas, I encourage you to be like Abel, trust in God's promise and make life decisions based on that faith. When you do, God will delight in your life and guide you down the best path.